Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisheshai Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarini Jayo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Narancheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Uddhirayet Nashtaprayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. So welcome you all to the ISKCON Sadachar classes. So we are discussing about the Srimad Bhagavatam prayers of the devotees. Yeah. So last week we saw Kardama Muni, right? So we just went into Kardama Muni is also a Prajapati and who was instructed by Lord Brahma to increase the population, right? But he does it in a different way, right? So he actually prays to the Lord. He does tapasya for 10,000 years, right? And then he gets the darshan of the Lord. Yeah. And then, so the Lord informs him that, so because he had a material desire that he wanted to marry, right? So the Lord says that Manu, Swayambhuva Manu will come and then he'll hand over his daughter Devahuti in marriage. So who is a princess, right? And Swayambhuva Manu is the king, right, of the universe. And then the marriage happens, right, with the condition that once the children are born, so he'll move to sannyas, right? So he'll take the other um, role, right? So all those things happened, and then we saw that Devahuti pleased him with all the austerities and then whatever Kardama Muni needed for his sadhana, right? It's not that after marriage, say they were free and then say like these days, right? So they go out for an outstation or they go out of the country, nothing like that. They were in the forest and then she was serving her husband for long years. Yeah. And after that, Kardama Muni was very pleased and then he asked, what is so you have been very helpful and then so I'm very pleased. So tell me what do you need? And then she says that any womanhood, right? So would like to see children, right? So that's the ask she does. And then Kardamuni by his mystic power creates a manison, right? It's almost like a city, a flying machine. And then so we know that they go into different places and then the children are born. First there are 9 uh, girl childs and then when Devahuti asks that say all will get married, then who will actually take care of me? Then the Lord, see, Kardama Muni tells that the Lord would appear as Kapila, right? Lord Kapila, and then see, he'll take care of you, and then he'll give you the teachings. Yeah. So that is what happened. I'm just giving you a crisp glimpse of what happened until last time, right? And then Kardama Muni actually prayers. We saw his prayers also. Okay. And then now in continuation to that, right? Now it's Devahuti. Okay. So Kardama Muni after the son is born, right? So as informed, so to Devahuti, right? So before the marriage, so that was the condition which he had put. And then once the child was born, so he actually moves on. Okay, so he moves on to actually preach and then to do austerities and all, right? So at the other end, right? So what happens is Devahuti, right? So until then, right? So we know that so in between, right? Say when the flying machine was created, right? Again, she was living as a princess uh, for quite many years, yeah, because there she had all the maid servants, and then it, the actual mansion was already all decked with diamonds, rubies, and everything, right? But now what happens is once the son is born, and because she again returned back to the same hermitage, yeah, so which nearby the Saraswati River, right? So where Kardama Muni was actually meditating, right? So they again come back to the same place. So in here, right? Say again, see Devahuti actually does again the same austerities, right? So as she was doing earlier, right? So one thing is she was a princess, okay, and the other thing is she got married to a Brahmana, and then she led the life as an chaste wife, right, in the forest. And then in between, again, she got all the opulences. Again, she was like a queen, okay. And then again, she has come back to the hermitage. So this actually shows. And then she was again doing her austerities. She was again lean and thin, and then it's the same thing. So like as she was with Kardama Muni, right? She was doing the same thing with Lord Kapila, her son. So if you see, right, actually Devahuti being born in an aristocratic family, right? She never had any material desires or attachments. That's the greatness what we'll have to learn from Devahuti, right? So just think of the normal material person, right? So if at all, so in these days, right, if someone is owning a 3 BHK and then he's in a 3 BHK apartment, right? If we ask him that tomorrow onwards you'll have to be in a 1 BHK, so that itself becomes a big crisis, right? But see here, so she is like the king's daughter, right? And then she is actually living a very austere life as a sage, something similar to a sage with minimum things, right? So that's one of the important characteristics of a devotee. Yeah? So that is how. So they are never attached to these material opulences, right? So it may happen. It's that today we have it, and then tomorrow we may not have it. Yeah? And then we will see that there are a couple of other points also. So wherein we see that Devahuti suits to be a perfect devotee of the Lord. Yeah, and so we all know, right? So here the Sankhya philosophy, right? So the Sankhya philosophy is being taught by Lord Kapila. Okay, so Lord Kapila is the one who has given us the Sankhya philosophy. Okay, so today we'll be seeing this, but yeah, again. I think last time Mataji asked, but I cut short for the Sankhya. But I'll just give you a gist of what Sankhya is if we don't know, right? So that's basically I said last time I said that it was chapter 13, but might be or might not recollect. But I'll just give you a glimpse of what it is. Yeah. So Sankhya is nothing but the interaction. Okay. Sankhya is nothing but what do we say? Sankhya in literary meaning is what? Analytic studies. Okay. Through analytic study, right? How do we connect to the Lord? Okay, so that's the thing. So in here, right? Then even if you have seen in the 13th chapter, right? So it's basically on Prakriti, Purusha, and the 24 elements which goes through, and right. So that's the thing. So that is the Sankhya philosophy. So we all know, right? So the 5 Panchmahabhutas, right? So the elements, right? So first are the gross elements, right? So earth, water, fire, air, and ether, right? So these are gross. Yeah? And then there are 5 Gyanendras, or the knowledge acquiring senses, right? Eyes, nose, ear, mouth, and skin. Similarly, there are the objects known by the 5 subtle elements through these 5, right? So the eyes, nose, ears, mouth, right? So with that, you get 5 more objects. So elements wherein through eyes you see the sight, smell, sound, right? These are nothing but uh, what do we call in Hindi? We call that Rupa Gandha, and so all those things, yeah, and touch. Okay. So then we have 5 working senses. It's nothing but our hands, legs, mouths, right, rectum, and genitals. So all these constitute the 20 elements. And apart from this, we know, right, we have 3, right? So there are 8 elements, right? So which Krishna also says, right? Apart from these 5 elements, right? So mind, man, buddhi, ahankar, right? So it's nothing but mind, intelligence, and false ego, right? And then the 3 modes, which is nothing but the contaminated consciousness. So along with these 24 elements, right? How the soul interacts with these 24 elements and the Purusha, or the Mahatattva, right? So this is all the analytic study. Okay, so this is Sankhya. So if one wants to put his energy understanding these all things, and then at the end he will know that there is someone, because to work this 24 elements, right, this interaction should be there with the soul. Okay, and then there is someone. If we go to that stage, right, we'll understand that there is someone beyond this soul. So that is nothing but the Lord. Okay, so all these things, right, if you want to study and then you want to know that okay, there is someone called the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So then one has to spend the time in this. So it is like if you go to a city, okay, it's an unknown city, you go, okay, so okay, and then what happens is you don't have your GPS or anything, okay, and then you have been given an address, okay, you don't have any, say, we had that old Nokia phones, right? 1100 or something you have in, okay, and then you don't have anything, okay, and then so that's maybe the destination which you'll have to go. That maybe that is your friend's house, okay, and then there, right, you land up to that city, and then you actually go by your own, right? Because you don't know that city, first thing, and the other thing is you only have the address, okay, and s- so you'll be struggling to go to that address, right? So that's the way it is Sankhya. So in the on the other hand, right, Bhakti is, you know, the address. You ask your friend itself, saying that I'm landing at so and so time. Can you pick me up? So how much time will it take for you to reach the destination when your friend is there who is guiding you, right? So that's the difference which you can actually put hypothetically. Yeah? So now we'll actually touch base the prayers of Devahuti, right? So in between, what happens is, so there are a lot of chapters which goes in between. Okay, so because we are coming to the last chapter. Yeah. So um, after uh, Kardama Muni leaves in, right, and then Kardama Muni instructed her, saying that the son who would be born, right, so he would be the Lord himself, and then he'll teach you, right? So as days passed by, right? So one day Devahuti actually asked that she had few queries, and then she thought that so days are passing by, and then so I should actually get the knowledge, okay, the actual knowledge of So for bhakti and all, right? So for I should get the real knowledge, yeah. And then the other thing is, one thing to understand is, the Devahuti is very learned also, because she is the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. Okay, so she is not unlike us, and then she is the wife of Kardama Muni. She has served Kardama Muni for long years. Okay, and then her realizations are much more. Okay, but she takes a humble role in this. Okay, so in whole of the Bhagavatam, right, the devotees are always taking humble roles, and then even though they are learned, they know all the shastras and all, right? So still they take a humble role, and then they ask the questions. So actually, these are all for us to learn in. Yeah? So what happens is that one day Devahuti asks, she says that, I've taken your shelter. So the other aspect of Devahuti, yeah, she actually surrenders to Lord Kapila, who is none other than her son. Okay. But she knows that he is the Lord, yeah, because it was being told by Brahma, and then it was even told by her husband. Okay. She says that, she takes his shelter, and then she asks a question to him. Okay. So she says that, you're the only person to whom I can take the shelter. And then she says that, please tell me, how I can cut. So give me the axe by which I can actually cut the tree of this material existence. Okay. And then she says that, she asks a very genuine question. Okay. So she says that, what is the relationship between man and woman and spirit and matter? So these are the questions which she asks to Kardama Muni. Sorry, not Kardama Muni, to Lord Kapila. Okay. So I think the chapter 25 and 26 goes into that. So wherein 25 she asks, and 25 and 26, wherein the Lord explains her all the different angles. Yeah. So I will not go through this because those are very long chapters. We can't complete. I'll just tell you what the Lord told. So the Lord says that the yoga system which actually relates the Lord and the individual soul, right, which connects, right, and which will actually benefit the living entities, right, with detachment from all happiness and distress of this material world. So that is the highest perfection, is what the Lord answers, right? And then he says that this is the yoga system which I have taught, which is being discussed, and then which is being told earlier. Okay. And then this is not something new which I am teaching you. Okay. So this goes into the same lines where Lord Krishna also says that, to Arjuna, saying that I have taught Bhagavad Gita in the past also, right? So that was being told to the sun god, right? So the Lord had instructed the sun god. So whatever we are reading, right? Shastra said, then nobody says that I'm something newly introducing. Yeah. So you see, everything is there, and then they're quoting those things only once again. Yeah. So that's what he answers, and then he feels very happy, because this is these questions, right? So normally the normal materialistic persons cannot ask these questions, right? So some who will ask about man and woman and all those things, right? So this is nothing but, so one thing we'll have to know, that this man and woman discussion which is there, right? So it is for Prakriti and Purusha. Okay. There is only one Purusha. He is nothing but the Lord, who is the enjoyer. Okay. There is only one enjoyer, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Rest all are Prakriti. So even here we take the roles as small Purushas, right? Like the man and woman, right? At time they want to Lord. They also become small Purushas, but they are Prakriti, even because one wants to dominate the other, right? So that's the way the materialistic life is, right? So all the men, women, all are Prakriti. Okay. So that he explains, and then even in this canto only, right? There is another beautiful section wherein Lord Kapila actually gives the narration of how a child is born. Yeah? Say when the right from the child is, say, right from the day one, right? Say how things start in, right, and until the 10th month, right? So what are the stages a child goes through, right? It is very clearly mentioned, right? This is from Shastra. This you can match it. It should match completely with the scientific thing which we do in, right, the science calculation, right? So at that time there was no other study. So it was all, you say the cosmic study and the Vedic study, right? It is so perfect. Even he gives the days, months, everything he calculates. Yeah. So science is something which we get astonished, but it is recently developed. Yeah. So, but these are all these things are there in our Shastra. So if you want, you can go through that chapter. So I don't recollect that chapter, but it is somewhere after 25th chapter, wherein everything is been described. Okay. So now, okay, we can see the first shloka also. Maybe we can't read the shlokas. We'll just go through the translations because we are spend some time explaining things at the back end. Yeah. Uh, we'll see the others one. Sri Maitya said, thus Devahuti, the mother of Lord Kapila and wife of Kardama Muni, became freed from all ignorance concerning devotional service and transcendental knowledge. She offered her obeisances on to the Lord, the author of the basic principles of Sankhya system, the one which we spoke, right, of philosophy, which is the background of liberation, and she satisfied him with the following verses of prayers. Yeah. So now she'll actually start her prayers. Okay. And then the other thing we should actually remember that, so whatever Sankhya system Lord Kapila instructs, right? So those are in devotional service only. So if you'll read the whole chapters, right, you'll feel that it is more on devotional service. Yeah. So at the end, he concludes that devotional service is the topmost. So this already Prabhupada has given us, and then he has clearly mentioned, right? So you need not go through all these things, and then bhakti is the best. Yeah. And then you'll see that now after listening to the whole narration, right? Even now Devahuti also will confirm the same. Yeah? So this is Devahuti's prayers. Yeah, Devahutirvacha athapi ajo anta salile sayanam bhutendriya arthatmamayam vapuste guna pravaham sadesha bijam dadau swayam yaj jatarabha abja jatah. So Devahuti Vacha, Devahuti said, Athapi, moreover, Aja, Lord Brahma, Anta Shalile, in the water, Sayanam, lying, Bhuta, the material elements, Indriya, the senses, Artha, the sense objects, Atma, the mind, Mayam, pervaded by Vapu, body, Te, your, Guna, Pravaham, the source of the streams of the three modes of material nature, Sat, manifest, Ashesha of all, Bijam, the seed, Dadayu, meditated upon, Swayam himself, Yat, of whom, Jatahara, of from the abdomen, Abja, from the lotus flower, Jata. Sorry, folks, there is power fluctuation. Okay, so if by chance the power goes off, right? So I'll try to rejoin. Yeah. Um, so translation: Devahuti said, Brahma is said to be unborn because he takes birth from the lotus which flower which grows from your abdomen while you lie in the ocean at the bottom of the universe. But even Brahma simply meditated upon you, whose body is the source of unlimited universes. So here she's saying that Lord Brahma, right? So who is born out of the Lord, right? It's Lord's navel, right? So even who is born out of the Lord's body, right? Even Lord Brahma has to meditate. Okay. So the Lord is not easily visible, right? It's not that so he is a part of the Lord, right? So it's not that he can see the Lord every now and then as he likes, right? So he even we know, right? Lord Brahma had to actually do tapas for 10,000 years, right? So then only he could actually get the darshan of the Lord, and then he was being imparted with the Vedas, so by which he actually created the universes, and then things moved on, right? Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna. Anyone? Prabhu? Praveen Prabhu, you want to read this? Hare Krishna. No, I think Prabhuji's line is having some problem. Lakshmi Prabhu, you want to read?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I'll read.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Sorry, 1 minute. Hmm.
Brahma is also named Aja, he who is unborn. Whenever we think of someone's birth, there must be a material father and mother. For thus, one is born. But Brahma, being the first living creature within the universe, was born directly from the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. The Vishnu form lying down in the ocean at the bottom of the universe. Devahuti wanted to impress upon the Lord that when Brahma wants to see him, he has to meditate upon him. You are the seed of all creation, she said. Although Brahma was directly born from you, he still has to perform many years of meditation, and even then, he cannot see you directly, face to face. Your body is lying within the vast water at the bottom of the universe, and thus you are known as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. The nature of the Lord's gigantic body is also explained in the verse. That body is transcendental, untouched by matter. Since the material manifestation has come from his body therefore existed before the material creation. The conclusion is that the transcendental body of Vishnu is not made of material elements. The body of Vishnu is the source of all other living entities as well as the material nature, which is also supported to be the energy of that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Devahuti said, You are the background of the material manifestation and all created energy. Therefore, you are delivering me from the clutches of Maya by explaining the system of Sankhya philosophy is not so astonishing. But your being born from my abdomen is certainly wonderful because although you are the source of all creation, you have so kindly taken birth as my child. That is most wonderful. Your body is the source of all universe, and still you put your body within the abdomen of a common woman like me. To me, that is most astonishing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So this is what has been mentioned, right? So see how the devotees are fortunate, right? So if you look in, right, the details of Brahma are being given, right? So Brahma, who is born out of the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, right? For him also, he has to do a lot of penances, right? Because he was the only one who was born, and then he only heard two words, right? Because He went into the causal ocean, but he couldn't understand anything. Where was the origin? Nothing. Right? And then he heard only two words, right? Ta and pa. So with that, he did tapas for 10,000 years. Yeah. And then you see here, she is actually saying that um, the Lord is the source of everything. Yeah. So he is the one who has created all the material nature, right? And then the other thing which she is saying that he is the one, right, who can actually deliver us from the clutches of Maya, right? And then so she is actually praying to the Lord, right? He's so kind that the Lord has taken. She is the mother of the Lord, right? And one more thing which we can touch base here is you see the humility of Devahuti, right? So she is actually a mother, and then she is becoming a disciple of his son because she knows that her son is Krishna, right? Or Lord Kapila. So, and then this is very difficult, right? So, to actually, when fathers and mothers, right, so they'll not like to surrender to their daughters and sons, right? So, leave about surrendering, even advising them, right? At times it becomes very challenging, right? Because they'll say that, okay, see, you're born out of us, and then now you have started instructing us, right? Yeah. So there are rare cases where people may hear, but 95%, so we cannot go and actually advise, right? So even if we advise also, they will not take it. Yeah, that's one more quality of her. You see, there are so many qualities.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have one question.
Hmm.
What period was this? Was this during
Satya.
Kali Yuga? Satyug. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Kali Yuga, nothing, Mataji. Only Kali Yuga, there is only one hidden avatar which has come, which is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who actually taught us how to love God. And then he gave us the Sankirtan Yajna, right, for this. And then that's the thing. And then at the end, there will be one more avatar which is going to come. And then which will actually take away everything. Right? Kalki will come, and then with that, Kali Yuga ends, again Satya Yuga will start.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. स एव विश्वासय भवान् विधते गुणप्रवाहेन विभक्तवीर्यः सर्गद्य अनीहो अवितत् अभि अभिषन्दैर् आत्मेश्वरो अत्रक्यसहस्र शक्तिः. So Saha, that very person, Eva, certainly Vishwasya of the universe, Bhavan, you, Vidate, carry on, Guna, Pravehena, by the interactions of the modes, Vibhakta, divided, Virya, Viraya, your energies, Sarga Adi, the creation and so on, Aniha, the non-doer, Avitata, non-futile, Abhishandihi, your determination, Atma Ishvara, the Lord of all living entities, Atarkya, inconceivable, Sahasra, thousand, Shakti, possessing energies. Translation: My dear Lord, although personally you have nothing to do, you have distributed your energies in the incarnation of the material modes of nature, right? Because we know that the Lord creates all everything, right? But He is aloof, and for that reason, the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation takes place. My dear Lord, you are self-determined and are the supreme personality of Godhead for all living entities. Right? For them, you created those material manifestation, right? And although you are one, your diverse energies can act multifariously. This is inconceivable to us, right? So we'll read this. So here she said that first thing is, in first verse she reiterates that the Lord is the source of energy, and then he is the one who actually creates different departments, and then the delegates the responsibilities to them, and then he does wonderful things, right? So but he's aloof from everything, right? So that's the thing which has been mentioned here. Okay. uh, Kahlin Singh, Prabhuji or Mataji, want to read this purport? No. Okay, take it. That's fine. Now, Melinda Mataji, you can carry on. No? This one.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The statement made in this verse by Devahuti that the Absolute Truth has many diverse energy, although he personally has nothing to do, is confirmed in the Upanishads. There is no one greater than him or on an equal level with him, and everything is completely done by his energy, as if by nature. It is understood herein, therefore, that although the modes of material nature are entrusted to different manifestations, like Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, each of whom is particularly invested with different kinds of power, the Supreme Lord, is completely aloof from such activities. Devahuti is saying, although you personally are not doing anything, your determination is absolute. There is no question of your fulfilling your will with the help of anyone else besides yourself. You are, in the end, the Supreme Soul and the Supreme Controller. Therefore, your will cannot be checked by anyone else. The Supreme Lord can check others' plans. As it is said, man proposes and God disposes. But when the Supreme Personality of Godhead proposes, that desire is under no one else's control. He is absolute. We are ultimately dependent on Him to fulfill our desires, but we cannot say that God's desires are also dependent. That is His inconceivable power. That which may be inconceivable for ordinary living entities is easily done by Him. And in spite of His being unlimited, He has subjected Himself to being known from the authoritative scriptures like the Vedic literatures. As it is said, Shabda Mulatvat, he can be known although the Shabda Brahma or Vedic literature. Okay, he can be known through the Shabda
Yeah.
Brahma or Vedic literature. Why is the creation made? Since the Lord is Supreme Personality of Godhead for all living entities, He created this material manifestation for those living entities who want to enjoy or lord it over material nature. As the Supreme Godhead, He arranges to fulfill their various desires. It is confirmed also in the Vedas, Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadat, Vidadati Kaman, the Supreme One supplies the necessities of the many living entities. There is no limit to the demands of the different kinds of living entities, and the Supreme One, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, alone maintains them and supplies them by His inconceivable energy. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So here two, three important things. Yeah. So one is that say he is the one who creates all these different energies, right? And then he creates different manifestations, right? So like Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and then he empowers them to do their work. Yeah. So and then he oversees it. So it's not that he has given and then and the other thing is whenever they are bewildered, right? So like others, right? So whomsoever he has given the delegations, right? If the uh, delegation, if they are not able to handle that portfolio, right? They again go back to the Lord, yeah. And then he set rights things, yeah. So that's one thing, right? And the other thing is, how do we know? because we are not pure devotees, right? Or we don't have that knowledge, or we can't visualize the Lord, right? Because all our senses are imperfect. We can only know through Shabda Pramana, right? So only through Sadhu Sangha, right? So actually reading the literatures, the authorized literatures, then only we'll get to know, right? Because these are something which are being told by Devahuti, Kardama Muni, right? So these are all authentic devotees, right? So from the Shastras itself. Yeah? So we'll have to go by their words. Yeah. And then the other thing is the Lord actually creates this material manifestation because we all had the desire to enjoy. Right? So that's the reason. But our enjoyment was contaminated. We wanted the material enjoyment. Okay. So that's the reason we are in this material world. And the Lord has created this. So for us, so it is our choice again. Yeah? Want to enjoy, get into repeated births, it's up to us. And then if we not, then we can move on. And then he supplies everything which is required, right? So it is only that out of our greed, we try to accumulate more, right? See the animals, right? So even right from the ant to the elephant, right? So they don't have problems like us, right? So whatever they get, right? So they are happy. And then Lord actually takes care of them every day, right? So if you look, an ant needs only 2 or 3 sugar cubes, right? On the contrary, an elephant needs tons of grasses. So both are existing, and then both are fed, right? So and then what happens is, so now this is another nice sloka. Yeah? So after this, okay, we'll read this also. Satvam भ्रतो मे जठरेण नाथ कथं नु यश यस्योधर एतादशेत् विश्वं युगन्ते वटपत्र एकः शिते स्म माया शिशुर अंगरीपानः. So saha, that very person, tvam, you, bhrata, took birth, me jatharena, by my abdomen, natha, oh my lord, katham, how nu, then, yasha, of whom, udare, in the belly, eta, this, ashit, did rest, vishwam, universe, yugante, at the end of the millennium, vatapatra, on the leaf of a banyan tree, eka, alone, shetasama, you laid down, shetasma, you lay down, maya, possessing inconceivable powers, shishu, a baby, angiri, yato, pana, licking. So, so this I think Devahuti is actually thanking to the Lord, saying that so you are you do everything as an inconceivable thing, right? Because we know, right? When he was very young, right? So when he appeared as Lord Krishna, he did show the whole universe in his mouth to Mother Yashoda, right? So Devahuti says that, say, you could show the whole universe and then in your mouth, and then it is an astonishing thing that, so you are born out of my abdomen, you are lying in my abdomen, right? So the Lord is in the form of a Virat Rupa, right? And when annihilation happens, right, he'll actually sit on a small leaf on a banyan tree, and then he'll be licking his feet. You might have seen that picture, right? You might have seen that. That's called the Vatapatra form. So have you all seen that? There will be a leaf, a banyan leaf, where Krishna and then in a as a child, right? So he'll be licking his finger. That is at the time of annihilation. So when the whole annihilation happens, right? He'll be sitting on that and then he'll be floating. Yeah. So Lord is Lord. He can do anything. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you have taken birth from my abdomen. Oh my Lord, how is it that possible for the Supreme One who has in his belly all the cosmic manifestations? Yes, this is what she's mentioning about Yashoda Maya seeing the universe. The answer is that it is possible. For at the end of the millennium, right? So when the Mahapralaya happens, you lie down on a leaf of a banyan tree and just lick, and just like a small baby, you lick the toe of your lotus feet. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Okay. Lakshmi Prabhu, you'll only have to read now.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
At the time of dissolution, the Lord sometimes appears as a small baby lying on a leaf of a banyan tree, floating on the devastating water. Therefore, Devahuti suggests your lying down within the abdomen of a common woman like me is not so astonishing. You can lie down on the leaf of a banyan tree and float on the water of devastation as a small baby. Therefore, it is not very wonderful that you can lie down in the abdomen of my body. You teach us that those who are very fond of children within the material world and who therefore enter into marriage to enjoy family with the children can also have the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their child. And the most wonderful thing is that the Lord Himself licks His toe. Since all the great sages and devotees energy and all activities in this service of the lotus feet of the Lord, there must be some transcendental pleasure in the toes of his lotus feet. The Lord licks his toe to taste the nectar of which the devotees always aspire. Sometimes the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself wonders how much transcendental pleasure is within himself, and in order to taste his own potency, he sometimes takes the position of tasting himself. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, but he appears as a devotee to taste the sweetness of the transcendental mellow in himself, which is tasted by Srimati Radharani, the greatest of all devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So here, so the same thing, right? So the Lord actually at the Mahapralaya, right? He sits on the Vatapatra leaf and then he moves in. So Devahuti is asking. So these are all inconceivable, right? A normal human being or any other person, right? So they can't do all these things, right? And then he says that even here, right? She says that you teach us who are fond of children, right? And so he actually gives the pleasures to the devotee also. So like they actually groom him and all, right? So he gives his in his pastimes, right? He allows. So he comes here and then he allows others to actually bring him up as a child and all, right? And the other thing is, if you see, I'll actually show that picture. Wait, what Patra Krishna. So in this, right, if you see, the Lord actually licks his own finger. So because this is the one. Okay, so this is the picture. Okay, so if you see, this is the picture wherein the Lord is actually sitting on a banyan leaf, and then this is all pralaya is happening, and then he's enjoying nicely. Okay, he's actually licking his own toe. The reason is because that is something, because everyone wants the lotus feet, right? If you look, right, all the devotees, right, so they are after the lotus feet of the Lord, right? And then he wants to taste what is that the devotees always want to aspire. Yeah? So that's the reason he licks his own toe. So we'll quickly go through this. And then, my dear Lord, you have assumed this body in order to diminish the sinful activities of the fallen and to enrich their knowledge in devotion and liberation. Since these sinful people are dependent on your direction, by your own will, you assume incarnation as a boar and as other forms. Similarly, you have appeared in order to distribute transcendental knowledge to your dependents. So the Lord actually comes with a purpose, right? So here also he has come, right? Here, Lord Kapilam actually comes and then he directs the fallen souls and enriches them with knowledge and devotion so that they'll go back to Godhead. So the reason of coming the Lord is this one, right? So, and then there are many incarnations which the Lord takes, right? So, like we saw all the Dasha avatars, right? So, he takes the form of a fish, he takes the form of a boar, right? So, he takes the forms in different species also, right? And then, right? So, but he is transcendental in every uh, avatar, right? So he was a fish, but he was an inconceivable fish, right? And then the reason he took because there was indentation, and then he had to actually save, right? Satyavrata. So same thing, right? So he has taken so many births. He took the form of a tortoise, right, for Samudra Manthana, Kurma avatar, right? So all these things are to actually deliver us. And then to say nothing of the spiritual advancement of persons who see the Supreme Person face to face, even a person born in a family of dog eaters, okay, immediately becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he once utters the holy name of this Supreme Personality of Godhead or chants about him, hears about his pastimes, offer him obeisances, and even remembers him. So this is very important. This is very important verse you see, right? Say those who are low class people also, right? Even so, those who have the face to face, who can see the Lord is nothing like that. But even persons like us, right? So if we chant the holy names properly, right, and then we hear the pastimes and then offer obeisances or even remember him, right? So we will also become liberated and then we can also go back to Godhead, right? So if you see here also she's saying the chanting. Yeah. So in her text you see, right? Yeah, you see. Namadhyam, the name, right? So he says that of whom hearing, right? And then chanting to whom, and then offering obeisances, right? And remembering, right? So all these things, if anyone does in, right? So yan namadhyam, right? So this is very important, right? And Shravana, okay. Shravana and Anukirtanat, so it is nothing but chanting. You see, she is also mentioning. So what should we do? So anyone who talks about the Lord, right? Anyone hears about the Lord, anyone actually chants, obeisance, pays obeisances, right? So these are the things how we can actually get out of this material bondings, yeah. So that's all been discussed here. So you can actually read through, right? So he is equal. So in this purport, Prabhupada writes that he is equal and more than the Brahmana. Okay. So if someone chants in purity, right? So and then the chanting process, one begins to purify himself and can take. So this is what the Brahmanas is. But if you actually look in, right? Once if we perfectly chant, right, in Sattva, Shuddha Sattva Guna, right, then there is no coming back. So even the chanting of the holy name has got that power. Yeah. So here, so about the Brahmanas, it has been mentioned, right? So because even the Brahmanas, they'll have to take. So what Brahmanas do is, again, they'll have to go through all sanskars, right? So then the thread ceremony and all those things happen. Then only they actually start, right? So they get diksha and all those things, right? So all this process they go through. But yes, on parallelly, if someone actually does all these activities also, right? So he'll also achieve the same, right? So, and how glorious, oh, how glorious are those whose tongues are chanting your holy names. Yeah? Even if born in the families of dog eaters, such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your lordship must be must have executed all kinds of austerities and sacrifices and have all the good manners of Aryans. To be chanting the holy name of your lordship, they must have bathed at holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything required. Yeah. So those who are chanting, right? So in their previous births, right? So they have done some homework, right? If else they can't chant the holy name, right? That's what she says that. So what kind of tapas they have done, and then she says that Namatubhyam. You see, here she says, so Nam, where is Namatubhyam? The holy name unto you, right? So she's mentioning only to you, right? So she's referring here to Kapila, right? Who is the incarnation of Krishna. So they have practiced austerities, executed sacrifices, right? Took baths in sacred rivers. So only those persons can actually chant, right? So this is all the good karmas which have been done in the past life. That's the reason we got this platform, right? And then we got Prabhupada, we got Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we got ISKCON, right? So we should be grateful. Yeah. I believe, my Lord, that you are the Lord, you are Lord Vishnu himself under the name of Kapila. So she affirms. And you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Brahman, the saint and sages, being freed from all the disturbances of senses and mind, meditate upon you. For your mercy, only can one become free from the clutches of the three modes of material nature. Yeah, at the time of dissolution, all the Vedas are sustained in you only. Right? And then she'll conclude now. So if it is ninth verse, then she concludes now. So Devuti's prayers are the smallest of all. Doesn't work? Yeah, it works. So he says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila, satisfied by the words of his mother, towards whom he was very affectionate, replied with gravity. Okay, so with this, actually her prayers are over. So then the Lord says, the personality of God had said, my dear mother, the path of self-realization which I have already instructed to you is very easy. You can execute the system without difficulty, and by following it, you shall very soon be liberated, even within your present body. Okay. So with this we'll end. And the one thing which everyone should know in it, so here we should know the Sambandha, Abhidaya, and Prayojana, right? So Sambandha is what? So our relationship with the God, right? So any religion, right? Any philosophy is been taken, right? So the basis is these three things only, right? Sambandha, Abhidaya, and Prayojana, right? So what is our relationship with the Lord is Sambandha, right? Abhidaya is nothing but how do you attain that? Right? How do we do that? Through following the sadhana, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, chanting, by doing the service. And then what is the Prayojana? We'll go back to the Godhead. So we'll have the ultimate bliss. Yeah. So that's a nutshell to wrap up today's class. Hare Krishna. Any doubts you have in today's
Hare
class?
Krishna. I had one doubt, Prabhuji. In
Mataji.
that you mentioned about the banyan tree, the importance of banyan tree is always mentioned in both Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So, what is the significance of a people tree that people worship?
That I don't know, Mataji. This is just a banyan leaf which has been mentioned. And then the banyan tree, which is actually mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, because the reason is the banyan tree has got a lot of branches and roots, right? And then it is very huge, right? So, um, the topic which Urdhva Moolam, which comes in chapter 15, right? So, wherein the because it's a huge tree, right? So, the perverted reflection of the banyan tree is nothing but the material life. So, and then so we see the roots and everything in the shadow, right, Mataji? And then there are a lot of so banyan tree is lot huge, right? So the leaves, the branches. So in that, and our species are also too many, right? So that's the reason. But the significance of banyan tree and all, it's not mentioned anywhere, Mataji. So
Okay.
that I don't know. But whatever banyan tree comes in is with this, Mataji.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Prabhu.
So in scriptures, in many places, so we can see dust of a lotus feet. No? So what is that dust, Prabhu? So it's real dust or?
So, so that's actually if we take the dust of the lotus feet, so it's like the real dust only. So for now, right, what the pure devotees and all, right? So I'll tell you a little bit story of the dust also, right? So once Krishna, Lord, so for a pastime, right? So Krishna had some headache, right? And then to that there was a only solution was he had to get the dust of the feet of a devotee. Okay. And then Narad Muni goes and then he asks everyone, saying that so can someone, because there are a lot of devotees, right? Then he asks, and then he went to the Brahmana, learned Brahmanas, and all. So what they said is, we will not give him because the moment we give the dust, right? So that will become a big aparadha, and then we'll go to the hellish planet, right? Because the Lord is superior, and then we give our own dust, then we'll go to the hellish planet. We don't want to go there. We'll have to go upwards. Yeah. So what happens is when Narad Muni goes to the gopis, right? The gopis give it liberally. So on the moment he asked, they gave it, and then he says that Narad Muni asks, "Don't you fear that you'll go to hell?" Then the gopis say that we don't mind, because the first and foremost important thing is so we'll have to actually relieve Krishna from the pain, and then we don't mind, because even if you go to the hellish planet, right, so we'll not leave Krishna. So that's the importance, Prabhu. And then with that, right, because there are pure devotees, right, if we take those dust, right, and then we smear or we massage the lotus feet of the pure Vaishnavas, right, so by doing that, right, so we actually get relieved of so many sins and all, right? And then because of their piety, right? For say, but they should be exalted devotees, right? And so we get the sukruti, right, from them. So even today, right, if you go to Vrindavan, right, so Vrindavan's Raj is very, uh, what do I say? It's it's very authentic, or still, right? Even if you look now also, right? So people from whosoever goes to Vrindavan, right, they'll have small raj. Few of them eat it, and then few of them bring it back, and then they keep it at their home, right? So because the dust can do magic, but that should be from the pure devotees. Like in our thing, could be the Maharajas or say the Prabhupada, right? If you look, there would be devotees who would actually drink the Charnamrit, right? So of Prabhupada, right? So because we get the mercy of those elevated souls, because they are part, they are mercy incarnations, right? In a way, so they are the associates of the Lord, right? And then when we do the seva, and then we take their blessings, so we also get cleared from so many material desires, and then that will help us to grow in the spiritual life. Prabhu. That
Got it,
helps,
Prabhu.
Prabhu?
Got it, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll wind up. वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
कृष्ण.